Traveling the Vortex.
We're traveling the Vortex and have landed at the Shadow Proclamation, and plans never survive the field, but you wouldn't know that, pencil pusher? I'm Glenn, and this circuit breaker chapter from the mobile game Doctor Who Lost in Time is a full-tilt comedy action sequence that blends unit incompetence, Sontaran bluster, Judoon rigidity, and the Doctor's gleefully chaotic problem-solving. It reads like a battlefield farce wrapped around a covert mission, one that the Doctor derails at every turn. The story opens with the Doctor arriving at the Shadow Proclamation, immediately complaining about the stench of bureaucracy and disappointment. She's again working with UNIT, specifically Andrew and Osgood, on a covert operation involving a Sontaran helmet that needs to be neutralized and returned. Andrew tries to keep things professional, but the Doctor's disdain for procedure is relentless. UNIT's lack of galactic credibility becomes a running gag. Andrew insists they're not taken seriously because they're a new organization, but the Doctor bluntly attributes it to the Earth being a backwater planet. As they move through the proclamation, the Doctor repeatedly incapacitates Judoon guards. Andrew is horrified, Osgood is fascinated, and the Doctor is proud of her technique. When Osgood references Venetian Aikido, the Doctor scoffs. Old men use Venetian Aikido, and reveals she's using Martian Judo, taught by an Ice Lord. It's a fun character beat that both acknowledges classic Doctor Who lore and reinforces the Doctor's more aggressive, hands-on style. Meanwhile, the Sontarans are preparing an assault on the Shadow Proclamation. Their captain delivers bombastic speeches, constantly interrupted by premature chanting. He berates his troops, demands discipline, and insists they're stronger and smarter than her, meaning the Doctor, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Their battlefield behavior is a comedic highlight. They mistake retreat for strategic repositioning, question orders, and one soldier is shot simply for pointing out the obvious. Back with UNIT, Andrew tries to maintain control of the mission, but the Doctor keeps undermining him. When Andrew asks about her plan for dealing with the Judoon, she casually mentions a nerve cluster behind their knees, prompting Andrew to beg her not to kill anyone. The Doctor promises she won't, then immediately suggests she might maim them. The chaos escalates when Andrew accidentally disables UNIT's long-range scans. Before he can explain, the Doctor is thrown off balance by an explosion, and UNIT's situation deteriorates further. Andrew's attempts at damage control are met with the Doctor's relentless sarcasm. Eventually they reach the vault. Andrew proudly reveals he's acquired schematics through a black market contact, but the Doctor ignores them completely and blasts the door off its hinges. Plans never survive the field, she says, dismissing Andrew as a pencil pusher. She returns the helmet, shoots it with the resistor gun to complete the neutralization, and prepares to leave. Meanwhile, the Sontaran captain declares the mission a success, despite his troops insisting that they were defeated by the Judoon. He claims they've aided the conductor, a mysterious figure whose plan they've apparently been following. This is the chapter's lore breadcrumb, hinting at a larger antagonist orchestrating events across Circuit Breaker. With the mission complete, the Doctor heads back to the Black Archive. Andrew asks whether she used a resistor. She confirms she did, but the Doctor is troubled. She's been encountering Sontarans far more frequently than usual. Andrew asks how often she sees Cybermen. Too many to count, she replies. The implication is clear. Something is manipulating the timelines or pushing multiple factions into her orbit. The Doctor doesn't like that. Her coping mechanism? I usually just shoot it. Castling is a simple circuit breaker chapter. Fast, irrelevant, slightly chaotic, and absolutely committed to showcasing the Fugitive Doctor's personality. It's a punchy comedic infiltration story that leans into the Fugitive Doctor's abrasive charm, UNIT's perceived credibility crisis, and the Sontarans' newfound role as the universe's most incompetent warmongers. It's fun, brisk, and full of character flavor, though its placement in the wider Circuit Breaker arc raises some questions about continuity and narrative accessibility. I'll get to that in a minute. The chapter opens with the Doctor's immediate contempt for the Shadow Proclamation, stints of bureaucracy and disappointment, setting the tone for her dynamic with UNIT. Andrew tries to maintain professionalism, but the Doctor's disdain for procedure is relentless. The back and forth does more than just land jokes. It reinforces UNIT's place in the galactic hierarchy. Andrew insists they're dismissed because they're new. The Doctor counters Earth is a backwater planet. It's a sharp, funny exchange that quietly underscores how small Earth still is in the grand cosmic picture. The Judoon infiltration sequence is fun. The Doctor repeatedly drops guards using Martian Judo, a technique she claims was taught by an Ice Lord. Osgood is equal parts impressed and horrified, while Andrew is just trying to keep the body count at 0. This is peak Fugitive Doctor, hands-on, tactical, and not remotely apologetic. But it does slightly contradict the softening hinted at the end of the previous story. Not a full personality shift, but a moment of acknowledgement would help bridge the emotional continuity. The Sontaran subplot is pure farce, and it works. The captain's speeches are constantly interrupted by overeager chanting. Troops mistake retreat for strategic repositioning. One soldier is even executed for pointing out the obvious. Modern Doctor Who has increasingly leaned into Sontaran comedy, and while some fans bristle at the tonal shift, this chapter embraces it wholeheartedly. In a universe full of terrifying species, it's refreshing to have one that's allowed to be ridiculous. Andrew's careful black market acquired schematics are obliterated the moment the Doctor blasts the vault door off its hinges. Plans never survive the field. This is the Fugitive Doctor distilled, decisive, impatient, and allergic to bureaucracy. Andrew's frustration is palatable, and Osgood's fascination is a delightful counterbalance. The Doctor completes the mission with the Resistor, but the real intrigue comes afterward. She notes she's been encountering too many Sontarans lately, and Andrew's question about Cybermen prompts her to admit she sees too many to count. This feels like a breadcrumb for a larger arc, possibly involving timeline manipulation or faction clustering. But Circuit Breaker hasn't seeded many Cybermen-related artifacts, and we just came off a Cyberman story. It's unclear whether this is foreshadowing or simply a misplaced line from a story intended to sit later in the sequence. I can't end the review without discussing the format. Multimedia storytelling is exciting. Time Lord victorious, and to a point, Doomsday proved that. But embedding essential narrative beats inside a mobile game with heavy grind requirements is risky. Yes, Lost in Time can be played without paying, but only if you're willing to watch an exhausting number of ads. Casual fans, or fans who simply don't enjoy idle resource games, may skip this chapter entirely. That's a problem when the story is part of a larger arc. And let me emphasize, it's not about the game being pay to win, it's about narrative accessibility. Castling succeeds as a character-driven comedy action piece. The Fugitive Doctor is sharp, chaotic, and endlessly entertaining. Unit's dynamic is fun, the Sontarans are a riot, and the infiltration beats are classic Doctor Who irrelevance. But its placement in the Circuit Breaker arc feels slightly awkward, and the delivery method risks leaving fans behind. It's a fairly strong chapter, just not one easily accessible. So what did you think? Did you take part in the story through gameplay, or is this one you decided to sit out? Just let us know in the comments. Next up is another Unit website entry called Don't Blink. Join us for that, won't you? Until then, I'm Glenn. Cheers.